how's it going? Welcome back to my Hoot Crew. If you're not part of the Hoot Crew, please become part of it and join us on this journey of absolute fun. So today I'm going to continue with the Share Jesus Without Fear book that I've been reading for quite a while now. We're almost done, and then we're going to continue with another book called Boundaries. And I'll show you that next week so that way you can go pick it up if you want to. And I'm going to add some awesome footage at the end of this video from a musical thing that we had this morning, and I really hope you enjoy it. Okay, so where we left off last time was we need to make non-Christian friends. We were in the chapter of developing and keeping non-Christian friends, and I want to continue with that because I have a lot of friends that aren't Christians. So I really needed some help with that in that area. And a lot of us do because, of course, we work with people. We really connect with people sometimes. And I'm that type of person, I can sit at a bus stop and talk to anybody. But when it comes to sharing my faith, it's really hard because you don't know how people are going to react to stuff like that. So this is what William Fay had to say about this. He said, God calls on us to go into harvest. If you are living in isolation from the world and the only friends you have are in your comfortable Bible study, Wednesday night church, get-together, Sunday school, Christian picnics, retreats, homeschooling events, and concerts, you will never experience the joy of sharing your faith. Your life will become dry because you are ignoring the call to work in the fields. You will lose a sense of vitality that comes from obedience and Great Commission. Or to the Great Commission, sorry. God did not call you to hide from the world. He called you to go into the world. After all, the world cannot know Jesus if we keep his identity a secret. You must go and tell others who he is. Remember, Romans 10 verse 15 says, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. Matthew chapter 28 verse 19 reminds us to go and make disciples. We need to go because we cannot make disciples at a distance. The message of Jesus' good news continues to ripple from one heart to the next. This ripple effect washed into our own lives and will continue to flow to others. If you are obedient, eternity will expand to include those people to whom God has called you to tell the good news. Now, like I said, we need to. He said to his disciples when he made his disciples that come and I will make you fishers of men, which means that he will help them and teach them how to be disciples first of all, and then how to help other people become disciples of Jesus. The next part of it says, there is no coincidence. God sends many people into my life. Some come only for a moment and others for moments or even years. Perhaps God will use me as a conduit to show them the good news of his Son. For this reason, I believe their presence in my life is by no means a coincidence. So everyone you meet, you got to picture it as this. God is placing them in your life for a reason. You just have to, let God lead you to what that reason is. Speaking of coincidence, I was teaching how to share Jesus without fear at a conference for a Christian legal society. Toward the end of the second day, a man named Larry Kelly came up to me and said, all my doubts are gone. I did not have a clue as to what he was talking about. Well, what do you mean, sir? Well, I'm ready. For what? I want to give my life to Jesus. And I was surprised. After all, this conference was for committed believers, I asked. How did you get here? Larry told me his story, and he said, about a week ago we were having a ferocious blizzard. My office was closed for the day, so I decided to clean out the basement his son could have his own room. As I worked, I felt nagged about the existence of God. I took a load of books upstairs and one fell on the landing. When I picked it up, I was surprised to see that it was a book about Jesus. I was surprised because I didn't even know I owned a book like that. Right then and there, I decided to read it from cover to cover. When I finished, I was even more confused. Then, when I remembered there was a Christian bookstore not far from my house, So there I was, driving to the bookstore in the middle of a blizzard. So have you ever found yourself at that point in the middle of a blizzard where you're thinking of Jesus, like, Jesus or God, please help me, protect me, put your angels around my car. That you're already asking him. So even if you aren't a Christian and you're saying, okay, let me be safe, you're praying right there. So when I arrived, Bruce, a salesman, was surprised to see me on such a day, since I was the only customer. He had time to chat. So there you go. See, like, first he found the book, then he read it, then he ended up at the bookstore, and then he ends up at this bookstore in the middle of a blizzard when no one else is out. And now he has time to chat to the Christian bookstore owner. I asked him if he had any books on doubt. He didn't, but he began to tune into the fact that I was a struggling non-believer. Sorry, I do stutter a bit, so you'll have to forgive me. When he found out I was a lawyer, he told me about this Christian legal conference that was to be held 80 miles from our town. That was a coincidence, because a client had already told me about it. Still, I almost didn't go, but my wife talked me into it at the last minute. So here I am. Don't you love the way that God works? Now, I love the way that God works. Like, this is unbelievable. Like, a lot of the stories, obviously this is in condensed form in the book, but a lot of these stories that he's telling are things that actually happened, that God put people in his life at the right opportunity in their life to speak to him. So, don't you love the way God works? Let's look at our list of so-called coincidences. First, as Larry began to wonder about God, the right book fell out of a stack of books. Then Larry's friend had told him about the conference, as did the man at the bookstore. Larry came and found the Lord. By coincidence, I happened to know and direct him to a Bible-believing church where he lived. He's now a men's Bible study in a men's Bible study with 70 other men. He continues to grow in his faith. Never ignore the coincidence of people God has placed before you. Instead, look for ways to build relationship, and then you can use the Share Jesus presentation. So never ignore it. If someone comes to you and they're having a really bad day and everything else, be that shoulder they need. Sometimes it's hard because you're like, ugh, I got enough of my own problems. I don't have time for this. But I trust you. One of my friends told me once that he heard a man crying and he went to find out what's wrong with this guy. And he said, you know what? He was what that man needed at that point in time, was just someone to listen. The next part I'm going to read to you is called Building Relationships, and it says, there are many ways to build relationships, and we are limited by our creativity and by our despair to please God, or desire to please God, not despair, sorry. So meeting neighbors. Unfortunately, today, the sense of community is totally absent from many of our neighborhoods. Perhaps you could help change that in your community by taking a walk through your neighborhood to introduce yourself. You might want to contact your local police department to find out how to be a host a neighborhood watch program. When your neighbors meet in your home, if you feel led, perhaps even on a one-to-one basis, you can transition to the gospel by telling them that a thief comes to steal, but Jesus came to bring eternal life. You could also work with your local police department to sponsor a fingerprinting and photography party for local kids. And that is a great idea. I know they have a lot of these neighborhood watch programs in the States. We don't have a lot of them in my neighborhood here, but we generally as a community, because I live in a townhouse complex, that we kind of watch out for each other's kids, and we kind of, you know, it gets hard because in today's society, we're always tattletaling on each other. Well, your kid did this and my kid. No, we need to stay together to keep the kids safe and free from strangers. Also, it says here, prayer requests. As you walk around your neighborhood, say to those you meet, I am a person who prays a great deal, and I bought this notebook to write down my prayer requests. Is there anything I could pray for? Later, when you are doing another walk by, you may want to stop and ask, hey, I'm curious, has the prayer been answered yet? If it has, your neighbor may be ready to answer your 5 share questions, but regardless, you are still building a relationship because you're putting a care into their life. People like to know that you actually are invested in their life and what's going on. Another thing is a video party. Another idea is the next time you see both your neighbor and his wife out and about, say to the husband, "Hey there, John. I know you care a great deal about your marriage. We were going to have a dessert and a video at my house on Tuesday night on how to improve our marriages. It's only going to last about an hour and a half. Will you come?" I dare the men to say no, especially in front of his wife. And it's kind of entrapment there, but I mean, it's a good thing. So if you're a woman and you see them walking, ask the wife. And if you're a guy, ask the husband. Always when you're going out to witness to people, make sure it's a guy talking to a guy and a girl talking to a girl. That way we don't have any issues otherwise, Another one here too is a store party. You can also use the Tupperware approach to invite your neighbors to come and enjoy a festive time and celebration, spring, Valentine's Day, or whatever. The purpose of your celebration will be to allow everyone to sit around and share stories. If it is around Christmas time, you may ask everyone to share his or her most important Christmas moment. Have a couple who is perhaps not from the neighborhood stand up for 5 minutes and share the real meaning of Christmas. Pass out note cards and ask your guests to write their names and phone numbers, and the next say, if anyone is interested in finding the real meaning of Christmas, put a little check mark in the card before you leave and give it back to me. You can also give them a pre-Christmas gift of a little envelope containing a gospel tract. You might suggest they read the last portion about how to have a relationship with Christ, and later, if any of your neighbors check your card, call them back and ask if you can drop by or if they can drop by your house. Bring your sharing Bible, New Testament, and sharing Jesus questions and present the gospel. If they respond, ask your questions if they can only hold the next get together at their place. So it's a good thing too for them to reach out to other people, because if you're discipling them and you have them at your place, you can get them to have it at their place, and then they can disciple others that way as well. So the reason you want to do this is because they will be able to invite different neighbors, family, and friends that you couldn't have reached, like Tupperware parties. This friendship coffee can continue to travel to homes throughout your community. In one Texas town, 150 people were reached through a neighborhood outreach. They continue to meet in a recreation room and are currently looking for a pastor. So I'm going to leave it there. And, these are just different ways. There's many more suggestions, which I'll give you more suggestions next week on how to, do different things to reach neighborhoods and friends and stuff like that. I'm going to leave you at the end of this video with some singing that we had this morning. It's little clips. I didn't really put too much in just because I don't want to get any copyright strikes. But, I hope you enjoy it. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up on the way out. Please make sure to hit that red subscribe button, and I can never say that properly, and the bell icon next to it, and you will never miss another one of my videos. Guys, have a great day. God bless. Bye.